Hello and welcome. My name is Brock Shepard. I am the program manager with AutismBC. Today, we're lucky to talk with Brody from Meridian Farm Market. Brody's business won the 2019 BC Excellence in Autism Awards for Inclusive Employer of the Year. And right now we are doing our second part to an AutismBC Connects story. AutismBC Connects highlights different stories that are happening in the autism community, and we share those stories with our members who are able to engage with us and link in different comments and questions for people. Welcome, Brody.
Thanks, Brock. Appreciate being here.
So, Brody, you work with Meridian Farm Markets. What's your role there?
I'm the Chief Financial Officer, so I oversee all the finance and accounting for the company. As part of that role, I also oversee all of our human resources, so our hiring and employee development.
Excellent. With that, where did your autism journey start?
Well, really, it started with our son. So my son's name is David. He's 11 years old and he has autism, and he was diagnosed with autism at age 4. So that's when my wife and I sort of became more familiar with what autism is and what people with autism are really good at and what they might struggle with. And of course, that can vary from individual to individual. And then in my work life, we came to realize that this pool of talented people was being overlooked by many employers because of their diagnosis. And so we decided we wanted to start and try to hire people who had various diverse abilities. And so that would include people with autism, but it could be other diverse abilities that they may have. But we did sort of focus on individuals living with autism. So since that time, we have hired several employees that have autism, and it's been to a great success at Meridian.
And this is the second part of the Connect story. So yesterday there was a few questions that you answered, and there were very, very powerful answers. So I just wanted to go back to those, and I'll link those into the side of the video so that people can go back and read some of the responses. But to you, what does it mean to be an inclusive employer?
Well, I really don't think it's any different from being an employer of who's not inclusive. It's just when you're an inclusive employer, what you do is you have a job and there's requirements for that job to be fulfilled, and you find the person that's the best fit for the job. And that person may or may not have autism. And you don't view autism as a barrier. You just view it as that that's what this person has. And if the skills that they have are right for the job, then we hire. And so we don't really view it as a barrier. We just view it as like, hey, if this person has the right skills, we want to hire them for the job that we're trying to fill.
And like, that was such a great humbled answer that you had given. And so like, what are the skills that you're looking for? And more to that is like, what are the skills that you're looking for that you want people that are applying to have compared to what are teachable skills that you're willing to help staff develop?
Yeah, well, so our mission statement as a company is to give our customers the best possible experience. And so when we are looking to hire people, we're looking for individuals who can give our customers that great experience. So they're comfortable in talking with people, they're comfortable in answering questions, they're comfortable in troubleshooting problems that customers might have, dealing with complaints and all that sort of stuff. And so if potential employees can demonstrate that they have the ability to comfortably talk with customers, then that's a natural fit for our company. All the other stuff, yeah, we're willing to teach. We're willing to teach them our certain policies and procedures and how to use equipment, all that stuff. Like you said, those are super teachable things, but it's that ability to serve a customer well and deliver that great experience that can be more difficult to teach.
And I saw by browsing through your website that you do offer jobs for people with like limited or low employment like records. It's a big place for people to be able to start and be able to grow within the company. Is that something that you have always done?
Yeah, that's so we have we're a very grassroots started company, family owned, and we started with one location in Port Coquitlam. And from those early days, that's how we became successful as we had employees who had no prior experience, and we were able to teach them skills and develop them to become leaders within our company. And so right now we currently have 7 stores, it's soon to be 8. And of the managers that we have and leaders within the company, the majority of them started as entry-level employees and have worked their way through the company to become leaders, and they're critical to our success. So, absolutely, we want employees to come. If you have no skills, no prior experience, that's totally fine. We're happy to help you develop and learn those skills on the job.
How do you think that we can promote the idea of inclusive hiring to other employers that might not know where to start with? Like, how do you build out an HR policy? What are some things that you need to do to make sure that your business is ready?
Well, for us, what really helped us was we worked with a hiring agency. It was Ridge Meadows Association for Community Living. And what was great is they really held our hand through the process because we had uncertainties, right? We didn't know what could get in trouble for if we did wrong or and all that sort of stuff. But they walked us through the process, and most critically, they were there to provide support to the employees and to us as the employers. And they would help with the communication between the two, between the employer and the employee. And what was super valuable was the job coaching. So on the job, they would have somebody there beside the individual that had autism, and they would make sure that they understood what was being asked of them, and then they would help them complete the task. And they would be there as much as the employee needed them to be so that they were able to function on their own. And that's really what made it possible for us. And then once we did that a few times, once we ran through that process with these organizations, we came to realize hiring people with autism is just like hiring anybody else. And sometimes they might need a little bit more help understanding or following directions or learning certain tasks. But once you get through that, and in most cases, they were performing better than a typical employee that didn't have autism. So I think in helping other employers to expand their pool of people they're willing to hire, to look at individuals with autism as potential employees, if they were to be able to walk through that process, have somebody actually walk them through, I think that is probably one of the best ways to get employers on board. Because what it does is it reduces the amount of risk that they're taking on. And they realize, well, there's no potential downside to this. I've got somebody who's willing to come in and help this new employee learn the job. They're going to help me understand what I need to do to support this new employee. And it's a real win-win all around. So I think those organizations are key to helping other employers become inclusive employers.
Are there more employment agencies now that you work with, or have you stuck with the one?
Yeah, we are. We're no respecter of organizations. So anybody who's willing to work with us, we'd be happy to work with them. We've worked with Possibilities. I think they're based out of New Westminster. And then there's a few Association for Community Living in the different communities that our stores are at that we've worked with. And we've also worked with a few employment readiness programs that have helped individuals get job ready. And yeah, so those have been the ones that we've worked with. But if any organization approached us and said, we have individuals that are looking for work, we'd be happy to work with them.
That's great. There was a question that came in here on Facebook that was accommodations within the hiring process. When is a good time for an employee to bring up that they would need an accommodation on the job force, and how do they approach you?
Yeah, so This is my personal preference for people who are applying for work, is that they disclose whatever challenges they might have and whatever help they need right away. I recognize that that could be challenging for an individual who has autism, though, because they might feel that they would be overlooked if they shared that information right away. But from my perspective, if somebody was to submit an application and they said, I have autism, this is what I struggle with because of autism, this is how I get through those struggles, that is the information that allows us to see that you understand your challenge and that you're able to work through it. I mean, individuals who have autism, they're the people who understand their challenges the best. You're the one living with it. And so you know best how to overcome those challenges as well. So my personal preference is to disclose as much information right away, because that allows us as employers to know what we can do to help you and to ensure that it's going to be a good fit for us. But I understand why and potential employees that have autism would be hesitant to disclose that information, but it's my preference and my suggestion and my encouragement that you would.
And I really like the point there that was, if that's your lived experience, you know the best ways that you're going to be able to help manage or cope with the things that you are going to be managing or coping with. So that's fantastic. I saw on your website something that I really liked, and it really brought me to like a grassroots organization, which was you have like a Ask the Butcher or section where people that are coming and they're going, oh, I really want to be able to make this, or I want to impress my friends. How did that start?
Ask the Butcher?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really is a grassroots thing. So from our first store in Port Coquitlam, the meat cutter was always accessible to the customers. So if they ever had a meat specific question, the butcher was right there and they could answer it for the customer. And the butcher was the person who knew the answer best because they were experienced in working with meat. And I'll take a little bit of a liberty here, Brock, and expand that question. So we also have another policy which sort of relates to hiring inclusively, and that stands for Ask the Person. And so what I mentioned earlier about if people should disclose their autism diagnosis and what challenges they might have, when we are interviewing and meeting potential employees, if there's something that we think they might struggle with, for example, sometimes people with autism have a hard time making eye contact, right? It's one of the things that they struggle with. Well, when we serve customers, we want our employees to be able to make eye contact. So if a potential employee was in an interview and they were having a hard time making eye contact with the manager might say something like, I see that you're having a hard time making eye contact. How would you work through that challenge when you're serving a customer? Because who knows the answer better to that question than the individual that has autism? I think something that might have happened in the past is the manager would have said, oh, this person can't even look me in the eyes, they're not going to get the job. And the manager just writes them off and assumes that there's no way that the employee can overcome that challenge. Whereas if you ask the employee or potential employee that question, they have the opportunity to share what they've been able to do through their whole life in working through that challenge. And so, it's sort of a similar principle there. Ask the butcher, they know the answers best about meat. Ask the person, they know the answer best about how they can work through those challenges on the job.
Excellent. That is a lot of the time that we had today. Those are the questions that we had that came in. So again, I wanted to thank you, Brody, for taking the time to talk with us. The third part of your AutismBC Connect story will be released later this week, I believe. So stay tuned and follow us for that. Thank you for providing the best customer experience, and really that motto that it starts with the people is something that I think a lot more businesses can pick up from you and kind of follow your lead with that.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brock. I appreciate being able to be here today.